DeNiro, again, saying some absolutely outlandish things about Trump supporters, about Trump, about what happened on January 6th. The way that these folks paint that event is absolutely crazy to me. But of course, it's for political purposes. So they excuse themselves from having to live in reality when talking about it. But here you go, De Niro.
Somehow he even got self-styled patriots to support a man who called for terminating the Constitution, and on January 6th rallied an angry mob to threaten democracy, leaving death and destruction in its wake.
Death and destruction. Now, look, I've been on the record here. I'm not defending everything that happened on January 6th. I'm also saying it's a case-by-case basis. There have been people who have been pulled into this who had nothing, who didn't do anything. I mean, they marched to the Capitol building. People who were there have had their private lives torn up. I mean, there was an attempt to identify everybody. Remember when they were going through, was it, I don't know if it was through banking records or maybe it was through the airline system, looking for names of people that were going inside and into D.C. or in the D.C. area within a day or two of January 6th. They're trying to track everybody down. I mean, more effort has been put into this, I can guarantee you, than trying to prevent people from illegally crossing our borders or from voting in our elections who are not supposed to be voting. But they went crazy to try to identify people who many of which had nothing to do with anything. And even for those who have been alleged to commit crimes, the way that they've been treated by this system of justice is absolutely reprehensible. I mean, it is reprehensible, some of the ways that these folks have been treated. And look, even if you think it was the most vile and grave attempt to destroy our country, I mean, this country has an obligation. The government is required to follow due process, and you can certainly make the case that has not been what's happening to people, even people who may at some point be convicted of a crime. Maybe not, but they should certainly still be treated in accordance with the way that the Constitution demands, and they should be given due process. This has not been happening. In fact, the left seems more concerned as to whether or not members of Al-Qaeda were waterboarded than they are with the way that American citizens have been treated in this process who were in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. But you can paint the picture a lot of ways. You can say that there was violence or riot. You can say that there was death, but the only death that happened that day and that I am aware of. Now, there were people that died subsequently after that event, but the only death that happened that day, and I don't mean this to minimize it or make it trivial. I'm saying De Niro's out here saying it was death and destruction. But the only death that day, tragically, was Ashley Babbitt, and she was on the Trump, the protester side, or the rioter side, if you will. She was shot by a Capitol police officer. It's just this, the narrative is what matters to the left. Facts and reality don't matter. The narrative is what they want. Not to mention, again, that Trump said to go peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. That doesn't matter to these folks. They want to say that Trump tried to stage an insurrection. And as I pointed out on here before, I mean, what did they think? What did they want us to believe that Trump was going to do? Was he just going to take over the Capitol and then suddenly the people that were there were going to take over become members of Congress and just start voting on things, and then the rest of us in this country were just stuck with it? I mean, it's so preposterous and absurd. Like, what did they think was going to happen? There is nothing that would have happened. Let's say that they took over that building and started holding congressional meetings and they declared Trump the president of the United States. That wouldn't have made it so. It's so absurd, and it didn't even happen. Don't misunderstand. It didn't happen. But what is the argument here. Again, it's not an argument of logic, it's an argument of emotion.